Do you realize that, Sheryl Swoopes, you're insane to do that? Let me tell you why you're insane to do that. Because Sheryl Swoopes, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball.
Stephen A. Smith just called out Sheryl Swoopes for something that's got basketball fans scratching their heads. It's about Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and a whole lot of drama. Want to know what's really going on? You think you've seen controversy in sports before? Think again. A Hall of Famer just snubbed the hottest name in women's basketball, and it's not by accident. What could make a legend ignore a rising star? And why is Stephen A. Smith so fired up about it? Let's break it down. Sheryl Swoopes, a WNBA icon, recently shared her thoughts on the Indiana Fever's performance. She had plenty of praise to go around, giving shout-outs to players like Lexi Hall and Kelsey Mitchell. Swoopes even highlighted Aaliyah Boston's near triple-double, but there was one glaring omission in her commentary: Caitlin Clark.
I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana. I'm going to shout out to Lexi Hall. I'm a big Lexi Hall fan. Lexi Hall shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. If Indiana continues to play the way they're playing like this, they too are going to move up in the standings, end quote.
Now, you might be thinking, how could anyone forget about Caitlin Clark? That's exactly what's got everyone scratching their heads. Clark isn't just any player. She's a phenomenon who's been making waves since joining the league. So when a basketball legend like Swoopes seemingly overlooks her, it raises some serious questions. But wait, there's more to this story. While Swoopes was quiet about Clark, she had no shortage of praise for another rising star, Angel Reese. Swoopes gushed about Reese's rebounding skills, saying, "Angel just has a knack for the basketball. She's constantly giving her team more possessions." It's this contrast that's really got people talking. Now let's be clear, Angel Reese deserves recognition. She's an incredible player with a unique skill set. But when you praise one rising star while completely ignoring another, it starts to look less like an oversight and more like a deliberate choice. This is where Stephen A. Smith comes in. He's not just mad, he's calling out what he sees as a clear bias. Smith didn't hold back, saying, "Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You do realize this makes you look insane." Strong words from a man who's never been shy about sharing his opinions. But Smith isn't just throwing around accusations. He's pointing out a problem that goes beyond this one incident. In his view, Swoopes' comments stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark and suggest a deeper bias against her.
Do you realize that, Sheryl Swoopes, you're insane to do that? Let me tell you why you're insane to do that. Because Sheryl Swoopes, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball.
It's not just about one player being overlooked. It's about fairness in sports commentary. Think about it. When a respected voice in women's basketball seemingly ignores one of the most talked about players in the game, what message does that send? It's not just unfair to Clark, it's unfair to fans who deserve balanced, objective commentary. Smith drove this point home, saying, "You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out." He's challenging Swoopes' credibility as a commentator, suggesting that her omission of Clark was intentional and problematic.
But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league. Sheryl Swoopes herself. She recently spoke on her podcast, Queens of the...
Just when you thought the debate couldn't get any hotter, Stephen A. Smith stepped into the ring. What he said next didn't just raise eyebrows, it shook the very foundation of sports commentary. Why is Smith so fired up? And what's really at stake here? Stephen A. Smith isn't just mad, he's on a mission. His response to Sheryl Swoopes' comments was nothing short of explosive. Smith didn't hold back, calling out Swoopes with a level of intensity that's got everyone talking. He said, "You do realize this makes you look insane. This makes you look absolutely awful." But why such strong words from a man who's seen his fair share of sports controversies? The answer lies in what Smith sees as a clear and deliberate bias. He's not buying the idea that Swoopes simply forgot about Caitlin Clark. In fact, he's calling it out as intentional. Smith pointed out, "You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out." It's a bold accusation, but Smith isn't backing down.
Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain?
But here's where it gets really interesting. Smith isn't just defending Clark, he's questioning the entire system of sports commentary. He's suggesting that personal biases might be influencing how we talk about athletes, and he's not afraid to call it like he sees it. Smith took it a step further, hinting at a deeper issue. He said, "I believe it's absolutely about skin color, both the praise of Angel Reese and the hate of Caitlin Clark." It's a loaded statement, one that's forcing us to confront some uncomfortable truths about race in sports media. This isn't just about one comment or one player. Smith is challenging the status quo, fighting for fair recognition of talent across racial lines. He's pushing for a level playing field where every player gets the credit they deserve regardless of their background. What makes this situation so explosive is the weight of Smith's words. When he calls it heavyweight championship hate from Swoopes, he's not just using colorful language. He's highlighting the severity of the bias he perceives, and he's doing it in a way that demands attention. Smith's response serves as a wake-up call to the sports media world. He's saying what many might be thinking, but are afraid to voice. It's a bold move, one that's earning him both praise and criticism. As one commentator noted, "Good on Stephen A. Look, I rarely agree with Stephen A. Smith these days, but agreement isn't what Smith is after. He's aiming to spark a conversation." This controversy is forcing us to ask some tough questions. Are we really giving all athletes a fair shake in our commentary? Are unconscious biases influencing how we perceive and discuss talent? And most importantly, what impact does this have on the athletes themselves? Smith's call for fairness echoes far beyond the basketball court, but here's the kicker. This isn't just about sports. It's a mirror reflecting something much bigger in our society. What's really at stake here, and why should you care? Let's dig deeper into what's really driving this controversy. Stephen A. Smith isn't just defending Caitlin Clark. He's exposing a hidden agenda that's been lurking in the shadows of sports commentary. And trust me, it's bigger than you think. Smith's not pulling any punches. He's calling out what he sees as a clear racial bias in how players are being discussed. It's not just about praising one player over another. It's about the subtle ways these biases shape public perception. And in the high-stakes world of professional sports, perception can make or break a career. Think about it. The Rookie of the Year race between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese isn't just about stats. It's about narratives. And who controls those narratives? The media. Every comment, every analysis, every bit of praise or criticism, it all adds up. It's shaping how fans see these players and potentially influencing who takes home that coveted trophy. But here's where it gets really interesting. Smith suggests that Swoopes' praise for Angel Reese might be more calculated than it seems. He says, "It absorbs her of people being able to say this is about skin color, even though I believe it's absolutely about skin color." It's a bold claim, one that forces us to look at sports commentary in a whole new light. This isn't just about one comment or one player. It's about the power of words in shaping careers. When a respected voice like Swoopes seemingly ignores a player of Clark's caliber, it doesn't just affect that one player. It ripples through the entire league, influencing how fans, sponsors, and other players perceive talent and potential. And let's not forget the fans. They're not just passive observers in this drama. They're being influenced by every word, every analysis, every bit of commentary. How they perceive these players affects everything from jersey sales to game attendance. It's a cycle that feeds itself, and it all starts with how we talk about the game. But here's the real kicker. This controversy isn't contained to the world of basketball. It's a microcosm of larger issues in our society. The biases we see in sports commentary, they're reflections of biases that exist in every corner of our world. By calling them out in sports, Smith is shining a light on a much bigger problem. So what can we do about it? It starts with awareness. The next time you hear a sports take, listen closely. Are all players being given a fair shake? Are some talents being overlooked while others are overhyped? It's not about pointing fingers, it's about recognizing these subtle influences and demanding better. Stephen A. Smith's passionate defense of Caitlin Clark isn't just about one player. It's a wake-up call for the entire sports world. This controversy shows us how powerful words can be in shaping careers and public opinion. It's not just about basketball, it's about fairness in all sports commentary. Think about it. Every time a commentator praises or criticizes a player, they're influencing how we see the game. And that affects everything from fan support to sponsorships. Smith's calling out what he sees as bias, and he's challenging all of us to do better. So, what can we do? It starts with paying attention. Next time you hear a sports take, listen closely. Are all players getting a fair shake? Are some talents being overlooked while others get hyped up? It's not about pointing fingers. It's about recognizing these subtle influences and demanding better. Next time you hear a sports take, will you listen differently?